All right, so back today on Tuesday the 8th. This is the first day of my peaking phase. So I would be continuing building weights up until Saturday, at which point I will deload everything down. First set's here, 5 sets of 240 on the squats. Um, Nothing too crazy for me. This is starting to feel a little heavy, um, though it's been quite some time since I've done weight at this weight. Um, but it moved pretty fast. I remember the first time I ever did 240 for a 5x5 would have been about a year and a half ago, and I could barely manage it. And just being able to come right back up to it after about 3 months is it's pretty nice. Um, and just be able to breeze through it. Um, Everything's moving a lot easier. I really kind of dialed in and focused on my lockout on these. I know I noticed on my last workout that I really was kind of cheating the lockout on my squats. So I really focused on making sure that I was locking out, and just looking right now, everything looks a lot cleaner. It felt cleaner whenever I was doing my reps and going through it. I made sure I had the intention of taking a couple seconds, or at least a second or so, in my mind to, dial back and make sure that I was ready to do the next rep, that I had locked out and everything's good to go. Overall, pretty happy. Sometimes, going into like this set in particular, I kind of felt like my form was starting to break down a little bit, and really, it's not that bad looking at it. It's one of those things that in the moment you really feel that it's grinding you, but on the you look at the tape and you're like, oh, I went straight through that without any issues, but it's not exactly as easy as it looked. But I got through it, and it's clear that I can probably keep going up. Um, I'll be ending this week off at 250 on Saturday, and I really don't see myself having too much difficulty getting to that. It might be a bit of a slog getting through it, but I can certainly do it. Um, Everything's going very well. My depth is still sitting pretty consistent. Um, Personally, I'd like to do, ass to grass squats just because get a better range of motion. And it gets more work on the glutes as opposed to just kind of doing, two parallel and going back up. Um, Even though I want to compete in powerlifting to where, you just have to hit that parallel, I want to be able to go deep, um, so that I know that I had the strength to do that, and being able to rep that will just make everything considerably easier going forward, just because I know that I can take that weight and ride it pretty easily. Uh, Other than that, going into the fifth set here, little wobbly there on that last rep. Um, Most of the time, whenever I'm finishing up reps on or sets on the final set of my squats, I'll think about whether I want to do a pause squat just to kind of help fill it for a little bit, but didn't want to do it that time. Going on to bench, bench felt really easy, which is kind of surprising because it's one of my, like I mentioned the other day, overhead press and bench are typically my weakest lifts. And I mean, they certainly are in terms of weight, but overall, I've yet to feel kind of really taxed on it. This is 5 sets of 5 at 155. My personal best on bench is 175 or 180 for 5. So I'm not anywhere close to that yet, but certainly working my way back up to it. I'll be finishing off this cycle at 160, and then just backing it down to 140. You're going from there, right back up. Um, but overall pretty good. I'm really not big into having like a giant arch when I bench, like you'll see a lot of powerlifters do. It's just not very comfortable for me. Not something I've really ever been a fan of. Um, but this works well for me. I had a couple weeks prior moved my grip out a finger width. It was where I had my pinkies on uh, the gap in the knurling, and I just wasn't feeling as much chest engagement whenever I was doing my bench press. I moved my fingers out just one finger, and I had my ring finger on there now, and everything feels a lot stronger, and I feel a lot more engagement in my chest. I mean, I get a much larger chest pump after doing sets like this. So clearly, it's using the chest more. I mean, it's not just something that I'm noticing or thinking I'm doing. It's doing it. So it's working fairly well. Um, and I'm just gonna let this go and see where it caps out. Um, but yeah, I was fairly happy with how bench went. Um, I believe going into the last set right here. Again, really nothing too difficult. I know that I probably should be pausing whenever the weight hits my chest, just to for about 1 second, just because I know that's technically the standard with powerlifting, but I'm just trying to get some strength up. Um, you know, I definitely should do that, but right now I'm just wanting to get that number back up. Probably after a couple, you know, more cycles, I'll probably back the weight down and try to work on this. Going into the deadlifts, uh, in the moment, felt pretty good. I really focused on making sure that I wasn't doing touch and go reps, so worked pretty hard to make sure that I gave it a second or two between each rep before I pulled again to make sure that I was doing that properly. And then making sure that my body position was good. Because I know sometimes later into sets, my hips can rise a little bit too high compared to my starting position, especially as the workout goes on. Um, but this felt pretty okay, and we'll kind of see how it looks looking at it now. I haven't watched this yet. Um, yeah, I mean that's looking pretty good. My back, way back when I first started, I had a pretty horrible deadlift position. I pretty much stiff like deadlifted everything, um, and this is just a lot smoother. On top of that, for today, this is the most amount I've ever deadlifted in a 5x5. My previous best in a 5 reps, for a set of five, is 330 on conventional deadlifts. Um, and I feel like I could probably do that fairly easily, maybe 340 um, or even 350. It just didn't feel like much weight at all to me whenever I was going through and doing this. Um, and yeah, it felt good. I primarily use hook grip whenever I'm using doing my conventional deadlifts, just because I want to be able to have a good strong grip. I really don't like doing mixed grip. Um, and actually, looking at this set here, kind of see one of the tendencies I was talking about to where my hips tend to rise and it's not as good as it could be. I noticed that in the middle of that set. That's why I stopped and reset, thought it through because I was not taking the best care to make sure that those reps were as good as they could be. Last set, same deal. Took a second to kind of get myself situated and just went in through and did it. Nothing too crazy, though. Right there in that first rep, my hips were a little high, and I did not reset right there. So I will need to make sure I take care of and do that, in future sets. Granted, again, this is the peaking week, so this is the heaviest it has been. Literally a PR for 5 sets of 5 for me. So it's not going to be unheard of to see form sort of break down, but beyond that, you just want to make sure that it's being done properly in the future. Um, and it's more just CNS training. Outside of that, things went really well. I will wrap this up and get ready for Thursday.